It's harvest time in my backyard container citrus grove. I've been anxiously awaiting these fruits to ripen after months of care. When faced with choosing a citrus tree to grow, you may find limited options or be overwhelmed with selections that you've never heard of. My intention with this series of videos is to provide insight into the history and characteristics of the individuals in my collection. If that interests you, stick around as we peel away the mysteries of these juicy gems. Today's video is about my Cara Cara orange tree. I've been growing this one in a container since 2022. Let's discover what makes this fruit so unique and delicious. I'm Scott from New Garden Road, always out here to inform, inspire, and elevate you. Encouraging biodiversity and restoring habitat is my mission, one garden at a time. The Cara Cara is a medium-sized navel orange, and it's seedless due to the flowers not producing a viable pollen. Luckily, a long time ago, folks discovered how amazing this fruit was, and they were able to propagate it via cuttings, and that's why we can grow it today. Navel oranges get their name from what is actually a small secondary fruit that often protrudes from the apex of the fruit. All right, this is one of the two remaining fruits that were on my tree, and I want to point out a couple of things to you. Number one is you can see this mark here, this discoloration, likely due to birds pecking on it. This is very common in my citrus grove here. You'll get some of that, and what happens as it heals over, you maybe even get some black mold, so it could look like a fungus, but it's really just a little bit of cosmetic damage caused by birds. And most of the time, if this doesn't go too deep, then your fruit is going to be just fine. Sometimes I'll put some nylon bags over the fruit as they develop, and this can be a good barrier against those types of problems. Also, you'll see some green coloration on the fruit here. Oranges don't have to be 100% orange to be fully ripe. When you go to the grocery store, they're marketed, they won't have any blemishes probably, they're going to be completely orange because they want them to look like an orange. But when you grow them at home, you'll see some variation, and I think that's very important to note. When I flip it over, you see that cute little navel? Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. These oranges are sweet and low in acidity. They're also characterized by little to no pith, and they're easy to clean and separate from the rind. They have a deep pink flesh that's similar to some of the darkest red grapefruit varieties. Unlike blood oranges, where the main pigmentation is due to the presence of anthocyanins, pigmentation in Cara Cara oranges is due to the presence of carotenoids, specifically lycopene. As the story goes, this variety was discovered as a mutation on a Washington navel orange back in 1976 at the Hacienda Cara Cara, which is a farm in Valencia, Venezuela. But it didn't make its way over to the US markets until the late 80s. One of the more fascinating things that I discovered in my research is that rarely they will produce a variegated leaf twig, and if left to grow and produce, you may get some striped fruit. And the reason that this was so cool to see was because over the course of time that I've been growing this tree, I've observed 3 variegated leaves, and I was really scratching my head because I didn't know what was going on. I have a variegated pink lemon, and I want to profile that one later on in the series, but to see just 1 or 2 variegated leaves on a tree was very strange to me. But now I've got my fingers crossed that I'll get some variegated fruit in the future. Anytime that I want to cut into an orange or a grapefruit or even lemons and limes, I'll give it a little bit of a massage. This helps to loosen it away from the rind. If you're not going to peel it away from the rind, like in the case of a lemon, you're just going to give it a squeeze and use it that way. Not going to be necessary. But I like this for 2 reasons. It does make it easier to peel, and also it releases the aromatic oils of the citrus. We don't have smell-o-vision yet, but this smells amazing. Now that I've gotten it a little bit relaxed, you know, going to the spa with your Cara Cara orange, now I'm gonna cut it open viciously and eat it. I have been waiting patiently over the course of the season for these fruit to mature. This is the first time this tree has set fruit, and this year it gave me 4. The first couple of years that we're growing our citrus in containers or even in the ground if you choose to do so, we don't really want to push fruiting. We want those roots to get established. And after that, sometimes they will produce in alternate years as they get more mature. So what I did was I sliced off the stem end there. That just gave me a little bit more of a clean surface to cut this in half. Look at that beautiful color. That is one beautiful looking orange. Can you believe it? It's a pink orange. You see the little navel there? Also, no seeds present. Wow. Okay, it's time to get messy. I just want to show you how easy this is to peel. Just coming right apart. That's it. See, not much pith at all. Very easy to peel away. You know, sometimes that pith has got some bitterness, but I find that with most of my homegrown citrus, it's not something that bothers me. I'm gonna go ahead. Ooh, this is just so, it's juicy. It's like gonna fall apart in my mouth. Let's find out. Oh, It smells just as heavenly as it tastes. Just look at that color. Super juicy. One of the things that I wanted to mention was, you know, we talked about the lycopene being the carotenoid that gives it its pigmentation, and when I taste this, I feel like I get a little bit of a hint of that grapefruit flavor. So that carotenoid translates across different fruit varieties, so along with the pigmentation, it gives you some of that flavor. I'm gonna eat this one too. Oh my goodness, beautiful. You can dry this, make some tea. So good. Look, see, no seeds whatsoever. Consider supporting this work by joining my Patreon, and together we can sow the seeds of sustainability for many seasons to come. Thank you. I really wish that I could share some of this with you, but now you know what you're in for. You would really jazz up a salad. You would be the hit of the party. You brought one of these in, make some kind of mocktail, juice, beverage, whatever it is. As I mentioned earlier, this fruit and other commercially grown citrus are propagated by cuttings, which means when you go to pick one out, you'll find that they are grafted onto a rootstock. I've got an image which will show you the anatomy of the rootstock and the scion as they begin to grow together. And this is important to note because long term, if you get some growth below that graft point, that's going to be coming from the rootstock, and it's not going to make the fruit that you want. So you want to prune those out over time. Now, to take that a bit further, I want to point out that this Cara Cara orange is grafted onto dwarf rootstock. What this means is that over time, it will be limited in its height to roughly 3 to 4 feet tall. Now, many times when I go to the nursery, I see a mix of dwarf and non-dwarfing varieties, and that can be Meyer lemons, Persian limes, depends on what the grower has produced. But if you want to grow your citrus in a container, a dwarf rootstock is a great way to go because it's going to keep it small, more manageable, and as you get cold fronts that come through your garden, you'll want to protect your citrus tree, and if it's got a little bit smaller profile, that's going to be easier to do. Initially, I'd like to plant my citrus trees in a 16-inch diameter terracotta pot, and I have several motivations for doing this. Primarily, they're economical in nature, generally running $25 to $30 a piece. They're also porous, which allows the potting mix inside this container to dry out more efficiently, and in turn, they're also really lightweight. I like to move around my citrus trees with a hand dolly. That makes it really easy to do. In terms of the potting mix, I like to choose something on the premium side because I'm going to be growing this citrus tree long term, right? Many years. Some of these I've had growing in containers for 10 to 14 years. And if you put something nice in there to begin with, you're going to get some good benefits from that. And I just think it's the right way to go. So I've been choosing the Happy Frog potting soil from Fox Farm. Can you smell that zesty enthusiasm? How sweet it is? It's gonna be some juicy segments. Are you done? Get to the pulp of the matter. I don't like that it's like that. Now check out more awesome gardening videos on my channel. Like this video and follow New Garden Road for weekly content. You can grow your own food. Keep it organic.